So in this video, we're going to talk about the million-dollar question. Can entrepreneurship be taught? And that's such a broad research question. In fact, that's not even a very good research question because it really needs to be broken down into two components. Entrepreneurship is really no different than any other discipline because there are aspects of teaching entrepreneurship, so teaching the vocational or trade aspects of it, versus teaching about it, teaching the meta-narratives, the meta-aspects, the theories, okay? Some of the mentalities and mindsets, entrepreneurial culture, right? So let's talk just a little bit about the vocational part. Yes, you can teach the vocational aspects of entrepreneurship, right? You can teach students how to write a business plan, how to do strategic group mapping, how to do scenario building, how to do design thinking field work, how to do a business model canvas. You can teach all of those things. No problem at all. And by the way, let's point out that you can do this in any other discipline too, right? For example, if you're looking at lawyers, you can teach them how to prepare a legal brief. You can teach a doctor how to, cut some skin or something like that. The only problem that you're going to have with entrepreneurship is, again, because the field is composed of outliers, there are no right answers to any of this. Okay, so for example, I can teach you, in fact I have a playlist on my YouTube channel about how to do a business plan. Now this is a way of writing a business plan that I find effective and most of my students do too. But that doesn't make it the right way. In fact, there are dozens, if not hundreds of ways to write a business plan. So what's the quote-unquote right way? It's the way that works for you, right? All I can do is teach you the vocational aspects. What you do about that afterwards is up to you, and that's the plus zone challenge, which we're going to talk about a little bit about later. But you can always train in the vocational aspects. But here's the thing. Vocational aspects are only going to chip away the rough edges. Let me give an example of the vocational aspects. I'm somebody that loves art. I love paintings, I love sculptures, I love all that stuff, right? And my painting and sculpting ability is basically a zero. I took art in high school, I almost failed it. Yeah, can you believe it? I almost failed drawing and painting, and I really tried. I don't have it. Now, I did get better at it. The instructor tells you how to hold a paintbrush and how to observe things and how to think about art and all that kind of stuff. So they taught me a lot of the vocational stuff, how to prepare a canvas for wet-on-wet technique like Bob Ross. All that stuff I learned, right? That's the vocational. So if I had any aptitude at all, I would have become a better artist. By the same token, right? And this is where we get into, can you actually teach people to be entrepreneurs? And this is the question mark, right? Some people will never be entrepreneurs, no matter how many vocational aspects you teach them, right? You can teach them to write the perfect business plan, the whole shebang. And again, there is no perfect business plan, but if there were a perfect business plan, you could teach it to them, and they still wouldn't be entrepreneurs. They wouldn't have that spark, they wouldn't have that drive, they wouldn't have that desire. It's just not in there, right? By the same token, my mother always tells me she wanted me to be a physician. I could learn all the vocational aspects of medicine. You could, give me a biology book, and I think I could, pick it up and master it, and I could learn how the human body works and how you cut a piece of flesh. And yet at the end of the day, I could go through medical school and do all that stuff, and I still wouldn't be a doctor because it doesn't suit me. It's not something that I want to do. But I could learn all the vocational aspects, right? And hopefully I might not even pass out when I saw blood, but I doubt it. That's why I'm a doctor of entrepreneurship, not a doctor of medicine. But I think you get the idea of the vocational aspects. And here's the thing, and here's how Kevin Hindle explains, this problem of artists, right? Even though you could give me all the vocational aspects, I might never be an artist. And he says this is an interesting thing. There are a variety of intrinsic factors that can go into teaching the vocational aspects. So some people are going to be a little bit smarter than others, right? They're just going to naturally pick up the skills. Maybe if you believe in more of the Kirchner perspective, that they're going to be a little bit smarter and they can spot opportunities in the market. And they're just going to be better entrepreneurs. They may have different level of stimuli. So for example, if you grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, you're more likely to pursue entrepreneurship yourself, or maybe you went to a really great entrepreneurship school, and that gave you some stimuli, some role models that you can follow, right? And of course, there could be different extrinsic factors. So for example, if you did an undergraduate in entrepreneurship and you did an MBA in entrepreneurship and you did a doctorate in entrepreneurship, then you might be better prepared to become an entrepreneur than somebody who had none of those things. Nonetheless, these factors, or any one of these factors, or any combination, can still make you a better entrepreneur than somebody who has no training at all. Like, so for example, you may have great intrinsic factors and great levels of stimulus, and you don't need the extrinsic factors, right? Or you may have the best extrinsic factors in the world, but none of the intrinsic factors and none of the levels of stimuli, and you never become an entrepreneur, right? So let me give a couple of examples to clarify. Let's say somebody does a bachelor's, master's, and a doctorate in entrepreneurship, and they realize, I just don't want to be an entrepreneur. Well, they obviously don't have sufficient levels of stimuli. They're not in an environment that values entrepreneurship, and they may say, that's just not my personality. I'm not smart enough to do it. They don't have the intrinsic factors. Or you can look at somebody like Mark Zuckerberg, right? A really smart guy. So he had great intrinsic factors, and he had tremendous levels of stimuli. Being around all those people at Harvard gave him a lot of really great ideas, even though he dropped out of Harvard, even though he has no formalized training in entrepreneurship, so no extrinsic factors. So think of this almost as like an econometric equation that can help determine whether someone actually becomes an entrepreneur. But the vocational aspects, nonetheless, can serve to boost your extrinsic factors, and it can, just the interactions with other students can boost your levels of stimuli, but it's not something that can really help with the intrinsic factor piece. Okay? The other thing that's tough about being an entrepreneurship educator is you'll hear all these people that say, well, I saw in the news about this entrepreneur and he made to the top because he was so lucky. Well, again, they don't take into account all of the hard work, the intrinsic stimuli, the extrinsic factors, the intrinsic factors that person had, and all the hard work that they made to get to that point, right? I mean, it's by the same and people think, oh yeah, well, that's obviously right, that was a lucky entrepreneur. Well, it's kind of like saying, well, that's a lucky brain surgeon. No, there's no such thing as a lucky brain surgeon. This is somebody who has the right kind of training, the right kind of intelligence, and the right kinds of people around him or her to be a neurosurgeon or a brain surgeon. It's not luck at all, right? And it's the same thing with entrepreneurship. Luck could be part of it, but they're not successful just because they were lucky, right? And I hate it when people say it. It drives me absolutely bonkers. So, yes, we can definitely teach some of the vocational aspects of entrepreneurship. Now, here's the other thing. You can also teach about entrepreneurship. In my own classes, I assign a lot of articles, including this one. And I can teach you all of the theory, discussion of the importance of entrepreneurship, like how entrepreneurship contributes to the lion's share of job creation. I can teach you all of that stuff, right? All of that theory and how to do research. So I can definitely teach you about it. So here's the question to reiterate. Can we teach, or can entrepreneurship be taught? Okay? Yes, we can teach the vocational aspects, as I mentioned. Yes, we can teach about entrepreneurship. We can learn the theory. We can learn all that stuff. And those of you that take my class, notice you have 1 day a week, or one lesson a week in each module on just the vocational part, and you have one module per week, or one lesson in each module per week on teaching about it, the theory and all that stuff. So you get both with me. But can anybody teach you to be an entrepreneur? No. So yes, we can teach entrepreneurship, but we cannot teach people to be entrepreneurs. Now, having said that, let's look at what we're going to talk about in the next video. We're going to talk about the plus zone challenge. And this is where we start getting into, maybe we can sort of teach people to be entrepreneurs. Not quite, but we can get pretty close. All right. Hope you enjoyed this video. As always, give me a thumbs up. That's a like. Make sure you subscribe and comment down below if you have any questions. Here's some other things I want you guys to think about. What do you think? Do you think you can learn the vocational aspects of entrepreneurship? Why or why not? Do you think you can be taught the theories of entrepreneurship, be taught about it? Why or why not? And what do you think? What do you think it would take for me to teach you to be an entrepreneur? I'm asking you all, my audience, my viewers, to comment below on your opinions on these subjects. Great. I'm looking forward to seeing the next video where we discuss the Plus Zone Challenge. See you in the next video.